The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to find out about the programming we have available for you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, that's our radio side, visit www.xzbn.net. And for all the listings of the X-Zone TV channel on SimulTV, www.simultv.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Debi Chestnut. She has been able to see and speak with ghosts her whole life. A paranormal researcher for more than 25 years, she gives lectures and conducts workshops to help people better understand paranormal activity. Her books on the paranormal are Something Wicked, Stalking Shadows, How to Clear Your Home of Ghosts and Spirits, Is Your House Haunted, and Ghosts of Anchor Bay. She resides in Michigan. And you can visit Debi online on her Facebook page at facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. And Debi, welcome back to the X-Zone. Always great having you with us.
Thank you for having me back. It's always good to do your show.
Thank you, dear. You were just telling me before we went on air that you just basically walked off your boat into your kitchen, and here we are.
Here we are.
Oh, gosh. Tell me, Debi, what was it that got you very interested in the paranormal?
I think maybe it was more the paranormal got interested in me. When you can see and talk to spirits, it's just kind of a natural fit, I think.
Well, what was it like the very first time you spoke to a spirit?
My earliest memory is probably when I was 5. There was a spirit named Nathaniel that lived in my great aunt's house on the second floor, and we actually became playmates. He was like my first best friend. Mm-hmm. He died in 1852. He'd been mentally challenged and mentally disabled, and back in that day, they kept them isolated in attics or away from the public. And when his house was torn down to make way for a gas station, he moved into the unused second floor of my aunt's house, and that's where we met.
Debi, is it very common for children to make friends with spirits and ghosts?
I think it's easier for children because they haven't been programmed that they don't exist or to be afraid of them.
So here you were playing with your friend Nathaniel. Did you have any concept when you first started playing with him and became friends that he indeed or was in fact deceased and that you were playing with a spirit or a ghost?
Yes, I actually knew. Because, number one, because of how he was dressed. I mean, he was dressed in period clothing of his day. And I remember asking him, because it's not always clear to me, are you alive or dead? And he said, I'm dead. And we had a little chat about that, as much as a 5-year-old can chat with someone about that. And he was there a long time. And my aunt died, and my dad sold the house. And I was 15, I think, then. And when I got married, my dad actually had an opportunity to buy that house back, which he did. And he sold it to my husband and I. And the first thing I did when I walked in that house was run up the stairs to see if Nathaniel was there. And he was. And I made it around the corner, and I was engulfed in a ghost hug, which is kind of like walking through Jell-O. And he said, "You're back." And I said, "You're still here?" And he said, "Yes." And he hung around for a few more years until my son was probably about 3 or 4 and started talking to Nathaniel. And then I decided it was time for him to go, and he was a little afraid to leave because he'd been so ridiculed in life that he was afraid if he left, he'd be ridiculed in death. And it took a little convincing for him to realize that he would be made whole. So he finally, over a period of months, finally left. And then when we sold the house, I was the last one there. And I went upstairs to make sure the movers had gotten everything. And when I turned to walk out of my son's room, Nathaniel was standing at the door, and he was whole. You could tell he was healed. And he said hi, and I said hi. And he said, "I want to say thank you." And I said, "You're welcome." And he said, "I'll see you again, but not for a long time." And I said, "I'll look forward to that." And he said, "I'll be the first one there."
I'm sorry, Debbie. Over the years, did Nathaniel age, or did he remain a child?
He had died when he was, I would say, probably between 18 and 20.
Okay.
And he remained at that age the whole time I knew him.
What did your husband say about living in a house with a ghost?
Well, my husband's an engineer.
Oh, okay.
And there was actually more than one spirit in that house. There were actually 4. And he tolerated it. He actually moved in before we got married, and he called me one night in the middle of the night because someone was walking up and down the hallway on the wood floors, and Nathaniel had worn big boots, so I knew who it was. And I said, "Oh, it's just Nathaniel. Tell him you need to sleep, and he'll stop." And it was just so second nature to me. And then when we moved in, he kind of got used to it. He never really liked it, but he got used to it. And the only thing neither one of us liked was the spirit that would turn the stereo on at 4 o'clock in the morning to heavy metal about once a week. And then we'd argue about who was going to get up and unplug the stereo.
I would imagine so. I first time I've ever heard of a spirit liking heavy metal at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that was kind of caught me off guard too.
How many? What other aspects of the paranormal do you investigate?
At this stage in my career, I mostly focus on dark entities, trying to get rid of them for people.
Right.
That's my main focus now when I do investigate. I'm starting to wind down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, I've investigated pretty much everywhere I want to investigate. If a case comes up that really interests me, I'll investigate it definitely. Or if it's someone that really needs help, of course, I'm not going to say no. But my main focus right now is on cases that deal with darker entities.
Are there more and more cases that are being reported concerning darker entities and dark spirits compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago? And is that because of the awareness that the media is bringing to this phenomenon, or is it because there are more and more dark entities that are populating this planet?
I think that there are more reported cases now than there was maybe 10, 15 years ago. But I don't attribute that to there being more dark entities than there were before. I attribute that largely to a lot of the paranormal television shows, and when people get what I would consider to be a normal haunting, and I still don't understand why people constantly think that anytime paranormal stuff happens in their house, it's automatically a demon.
Right.
So I think a lot of the hauntings that may appear to be a little more, I hate to say violent, but a little more rambunctious shall we say, are attributed to a dark entity when it's really just a frustrated spirit.
Or a frustrated...
I've run into that more than once.
Right.
They get frustrated and they're angry because they can't communicate, and they will do some things that are violent. They might throw things or, stuff like that, but it doesn't really mean it's a demon. It just means it's probably a frustrated spirit.
The awareness of the TV shows, in your opinion, is it more of a nuisance to investigators like yourself, or is it an asset?
I think it can be both. I think it's an asset in that it's brought the paranormal field into the forefront, and it's being discussed more, and I think it's more, in some circles, socially acceptable to talk about paranormal experiences people are having,
Sure.
instead of once being afraid to speak about what's going on in their home for fear of being, ridiculed or teased or people telling them they're crazy. So I think it's had good and bad in terms of being an investigator.
All right, Deb, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Debi Chestnut, and you can find out more about Debi on Facebook at facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, Debi Chestnut, and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Welcome back, everyone. Debi Chestnut is my guest for this hour. You can find out more about Debi by going onto her Facebook page, facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. Debi, what is the hardest part about being a paranormal investigator today?
I think one of the hardest part is when you walk into a client's house or business or wherever you're called. I think that they expect you to have all the answers and be able to get rid of whatever there. And I mean, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you don't have the answers. And you need to do further research and further study. And I think that's hard. And I think that on some of the television shows, they've glorified what we do and make it look like it's something it's not, in that the shows are so heavily edited, they're only showing a few clips of when something might happen, and what they're not showing is that you might be in a location for 12 hours and nothing happens, or you don't catch it till
Right.
you review the tape. And I think that's hard. I think some people expect us to walk in and all this activity is happening all the time, and we know what it is and we can figure it out, and that's just not how it works.
What percentage would you say that when you and your team are called to a residence or a business or wherever to investigate a paranormal situation, that it in fact is not paranormal compared to the percentage that is paranormal?
I would say probably 85% of the time it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people have overactive imaginations. Sometimes, in most cases, at least it's been my experience, that in most cases there's very, very high EMFs in the house due to an electrical problem.
And what is the first red flag that pops up for you when you are going into a house to do your preliminary investigation, that something just is not right? It doesn't meet with the criteria of a paranormal activity.
Well, for me personally,
Yes.
When I walk into a house, I feel the energy. And if there's a spirit there or a ghost, I can generally pick up on that pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Some spirits are going to come rushing at me because they're excited to see me, or some spirits are going to come rushing at me because they don't want me there at all. And some spirits are going to go hide, and it's going to take me a little while to find them. But usually within the first half hour, I can walk through a house, and, if you're not feeling the energy,
Mm-hmm.
and the equipment is just not registering anything, or we had one case, we walked in the house, we were standing in the kitchen, we were testing our equipment, we turned on the EMF detector, and it redlined. So we knew we were dealing with an EMF problem, not a spirit problem, mainly. And because of the effects that high EMF can have on the body, a lot of the activity they were describing were the same symptoms of high EMFs.
How does the spirit or the ghost know that you can actually see, hear, or feel them?
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
It's like radar. I don't know. I've also found that they know when I'm coming.
Mm.
And some of my clients have reported heightened activity a week or so, when they know I'm coming, whether they're
Right.
excited or whether they're not. I don't know till I get there. I can't explain how they know. It must be just some kind of intuitiveness with them. Someone once explained it to me that think of a totally dark place like outside and in the summer, and you turn on a light and every bug in 3 counties goes to that light.
Yeah.
To them, we are that light. That's how it was explained to me.
Okay. So when you go into the house, you do the investigation, and how do you set up? What kind of baselines do you and your team run?
We go. Well, actually, our tech guy goes to the house with someone else, and they take baseline readings of temperature, EMFs, that type of thing in every single space in the house. So that, and we log it, so that when we are investigating, if we do get some kind of anomaly, we have our baseline readings. We kind of know, there's pretty much nothing here, or, okay, we might have something here because of the change in, for instance, temperature.
Sure.
The room might get really hot, or there might be cold spots. And if there's a cold spot or a hot spot, then you have to try to figure out where that's coming from. Is it, is there a heat vent? Is there an air conditioning vent? Is there something there that's causing that spot that we can logically explain? My team always looks for a logical and rational explanation.
Okay, so you and the team go in. Your techs have already been in there. They've done the baseline readings. You do your investigation. No matter what the outcome is, how do you not, if the place has spirits, negative or positive, how do you and your team protect yourselves from bringing something back home with you?
My team is actually very diversified. We have Buddhists, we have Wiccans, we have a Druid, we have a Buddhist, we have a Muslim. I'm I'm more spiritual than religious, right. And we have an atheist. And each of us protects ourselves in our own little way, and whatever fits with their personal beliefs. And I kind of check them when they come out. I kind of go, okay, you're good. My goal is to protect my team. So whether they know it or not, and if they hear this, I'm going to get a phone call. But I generally throw protection around them before they go in.
What kind of protection would you throw around them?
I either use, I throw a bright light around them. I'll call down the white light. We do have a little ritual we all do before we go in. We all get in a circle, we hold hands, and, we each say a silent prayer or whatever we want to do to protect ourselves. And then I am calling down a white light to protect them. And I do kind of check them when they come out because I don't want them to take anything home. I personally, I don't recommend it, but I personally don't throw protection around myself that much. I have it at the ready. I basically don't use it because for a couple reasons. First, it kind of blocks what I do when I go in there.
Right.
And second, my goal is to protect my team. If something is going to come at someone, I want them to come at me, not my team.
Has there been any time when you or your team have been physically assaulted by a spirit or a ghost?
Yes, there's been a couple times. We've had a cameraman that's gotten pushed. He was videotaping. He's gotten pushed. We were doing a barn, and one of my investigators was up in one of the lofts, and we were down in the barn area on the main floor, way on the opposite side of the barn, and something went up behind him, and it was pitch black in there, and something went up behind him and let out this unearthly growl. I have never heard a sound like this before. A wail, a growl. I can't even describe what it was. Scared the crap out of him. And I shouldn't laugh because it really wasn't funny, but it was really funny. And at first I thought it was one of the horses because the man who owns the barn raised thoroughbred horses, and there was a horse stall right outside the barn with a horse in it. So at first I thought it was a horse, and then we played back the tape right away. We all went out of the barn and we played back the tape right away, and it was not a horse. It was definitely not a horse.
So can we say it was an unseen entity that was horsing around?
I know what the entity was. I know why it was there. And, it pretty much played with us all night. It got me a couple times. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Who was the entity?
The entity was an elemental. I believe to be an elemental. And the story behind the barn is very, very old. Mm-hmm. And it was once a stop on the Underground Railroad. Ah. And the man that owns the barn happened to be a physician. And he was in the barn. The barn has a dirt floor. He was in the barn digging a trench to run water lines so he could use the barn as a birthing barn for the foals. And as he was digging, he unearthed 2 small bundles in very colorful, although faded, but at once colorful little blankets. And when he opened one of them, he saw it was the skeleton of a baby.
Oh, my gosh.
And at that point, something grabbed him he couldn't see and threw him 30 feet across the barn. So he hurriedly got up and he wrapped the baby and he reburied it, and he abandoned the idea of running water in the barn.
All right, Deb, we've got to take our break. Please stand by. My goodness. Okay. Exonation, Debi Chestnut is our special guest this hour. If you'd like to find out more about Deb, you can visit her online at her Facebook page, facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com for all the programming on the X Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, and on the X Zone TV channel, www.simultv.com.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God.
It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Debi Chestnut is my guest for this hour, Exonation. You can reach Debi by her Facebook page, facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. Debi, what was your most unique paranormal experience?
Wow. There's been so many.
Give me your top three. Give me your top three to make it easier on you.
One of the most unique was in an old mansion, pre-Civil War. There was a demon in the basement of the house. Mm-hmm. And it took me, 5 years to shake that demon, even though the house was torn down. That was probably my top one. That was very, very scary.
Why would a demon remain in a house that has been demolished?
Well, when they demolished the house, they only filled in the basement. They didn't remove the basement.
Oh, I see. And that's where the demon was resting.
That was the nest.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever identify the demon?
Yes, I did.
And who was it, or what was it?
It was Amon.
It was a...
Amon is a lower prince of hell. He commands 30 legions of demons. Each legion is comprised of 10,000 demons.
Well, that's a lot of demons.
That's a lot of demons.
Whoa. And how did you get rid of them, Deb?
Actually, I don't know whether I got rid of them or just got them to leave me alone. It was a battle of wills there for a while. I came up with a ritual to get rid of them. And this was years ago. This was probably 20, 25 years ago. He was the first demon I ever encountered. And I did everything wrong. And I finally came up with a ritual to get rid of him. It was a combination of Christianity, candle magic, dragon magic, a little Wiccan, and everything I had, right?
It sounds like a cocktail.
It was a very volatile one. And so I was in the middle of doing the ritual, and I was almost to the end. He was almost going to be gone, and I stopped.
Oops.
And it even surprised him. And I could hear him going, "You stopped." And I went, "Yes, I stopped, because if I get rid of you, that makes me no better than you, and I'm way better than you."
Wow.
And I stopped. And that stopped it. He'll still pop in once or twice a year, just to let me know he's around, but he doesn't do anything. And I'm not afraid of him anymore. I'm just like, yeah, I feel your energy. Get out of here. And he leaves. It's I can't describe it. It's not recommended. I would never recommend that to anybody. And now if I had the chance to do everything over again, knowing what I know now, I would have gotten rid of him in a heartbeat.
Wow. Deb, when you are trying to get rid of a demon who is very powerful and has the ability to call in his legions, you're only one person, bless you. And you're one tough lady, I'll tell you that.
No, I don't think I'm tough. I think sometimes I'm just crazy.
No. I think you're a lady on a mission, and you know that where your strengths are. But one-on-one, I can understand it. But if he would have pulled in all his legions to come and give him a hand, what could have happened?
He's done that. He did that once. Before I tried to get rid of him. My friend and I were at the house before it was torn down. Mm-hmm. And we were outside, and it was the middle of the night. It was probably 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't even remember. And we were walking toward the house, and I felt this energy coming at me, and I knew what it was. And I looked at my friend, and I said, run. And she went, I don't feel anything. I said, trust me on this, run. And we ran back to my car, and we left. And that was really the only time he tried it. And he could have. There were many, many times when he could have done horrible things, just horrible, horrible, terrible things. And I don't know what stopped him. Maybe it's because of my beliefs. Maybe I'm actually at a loss for that. As to what stopped him. He had many opportunities.
Where would he have come from, Deb?
I'm still trying to figure that out. The house itself, the original footprint was 3,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. And then in the early 1900s, another 3,000 square feet were added on the back. None of the entities would go into the new addition, which told me they didn't acknowledge it. And they were there since the house was, in the original footprint. And the people that lived there were very wealthy. And back in the Victorian era, paranormal games like, I hate to say Ouija boards, but something like that, were quite common. They were a form of entertainment. So my guess is during one of these parlor games, so-called parlor games, right. This thing showed up. And, given there were 2 wells on the property, a cistern, it's right by the lake. It's not too far from the lake. There's water everywhere. It's really not surprising. What surprised me, I think the most, is that the house had been empty for so many years and that he stuck around. I'm like, what was he feeding on?
Yeah. Well, the fact that he was near the lake and there seemed to be a lot of water, would the water running or interacting with the geology of the surrounding area kind of conduct the power or the feed necessary for him to stick around?
It could. Our team also studies ley lines in respect to where the hauntings are. Yeah. And where this particular piece of property lays, where large pieces of property lay, they're in a triangle of ley lines. Okay, so where are they going to go? They're surrounded by ley lines. So you have all that energy just flowing around that triangle. Mm. If you look at it that way, if you look at the geological composition of the ground there, the lake, it's like the perfect storm.
So does the power of the ley lines, in this case in the triangle, keep the entity in, or does it feed the entity?
I think it feeds them. I don't think it keeps it in, because I think in some ways they can use those ley lines to travel very rapidly.
I see.
Just following that energy, and they're constantly being fed. They're like water. They're going to take the path of least resistance. So that's just a theory I have, is that they're using ley lines to travel.
And ley lines go all over the world.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
In your opinion, in the state of Michigan, where is the most haunted location that you and your team have investigated?
Oh, wow.
Another toughie?
Oh, yeah. We've done some good ones here.
All right. Once again, I'm going to give you 3.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Pear Cheney. Number 1 on my list, Pear Cheney. Number 2, the house I just told you about.
Yes.
Number 3, a cemetery that lays a quarter mile from that house. Now, cemeteries normally aren't haunted. There's nothing to attract a spirit there. There's no emotional connection.
Right.
It's one of the most haunted places I've ever been.
So tell me about Pierre Cheney first.
Pierre Cheney was a small town up in northern Michigan, and I believe they did logging. I think they did logging or mining up there, and a plague went through there and pretty much wiped out the whole town, which is, not that big of a thing. It happens everywhere. Except in this town, there was a woman that was alleged to be a witch. And the story goes that she was hung in this town and then buried in the cemetery. The only thing left is this part of the cemetery. I think there's efforts underway to restore it. There's a lot of stories, like one says her ashes were buried in an urn on one of the tombstones. One says she's in an unmarked grave. There have been reports of, people going back there. We went back there. Honestly, not that much happened, but it was definitely high on the creep factor. I'll give you that much. And, we did I could pick up some stuff. There's a lot of spirit activity up there. There was a report from a long time ago that a couple men went out there and they were literally attacked by thousands and thousands of rats.
Wow.
In fact, and it killed one of the men, and one of the men made it back to town, and there were still rats hanging off of him, biting him. So, it was the whole, are thousands and thousands of rats sick, or what would make them do that?
I don't know, but you and I have got to take our final break here. Speaking about rats, I don't know. Craig? No comment? All right.
Right.
My producer said, well, maybe the Pied Piper was buried there. Nice one, Craig.
Nice one, Craig.
Yeah. We'll be back on the other side as we wrap up this hour with our special guest this hour, Debi Chestnut. And if you'd like to find out more about Debi, visit her online. Her Facebook page is facebook.com, The Paranormal Realm. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll be back wrapping up this hour from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't call me now.
Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome back, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. My very special guest this hour is Debi Chestnut. Now, before we get back to Debi, I'd just like to let you know that we've got some great programming coming to the X-Zone TV channel. We have, Mysterious Destinations with my good friend and producer, the one and only Stephen Benedict. We have Stairway to Heaven, and we also have Monster Vision TV, and much more. And to find out about our programming that we have 24/7, 365 on the X-Zone TV channel, go to www.simultv.com. All right, if you'd like to find out more about Debi and her crew and her episodes with the World of the Paranormal, her Facebook page is facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. Debi, thank you so much for joining us. Great pleasure talking to you. Always interesting, my dear friend. And let me ask you, in your opinion, Debi, what is the most important tool that a paranormal investigator like yourself has the ability to use?
Wow, for me personally, I think anybody's most important tool is trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it's wrong. As far as hardware goes, my digital camera, without a doubt, is my best friend. And my infrared app on my phone, my thermal imaging camera on my phone. There's an app for that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it works pretty well. That without, and it's free. And that without a doubt is probably one of my favorite things to use is the thermal imaging app on my phone.
Is it dangerous for a homeowner who believes that there is paranormal activity in their house to try and eradicate the spirits themselves instead of calling an expert like yourself?
I think it depends on how they try to do it. I get a lot of emails from people who want to know how to try to get rid of them. And you have to kind of know what's going on first. Mm-hmm. If it's not I know it's not violent, obviously. I find 75% of ghosts can be gotten rid of if you just talk to them. It might take 3 or 4 times, and very calmly. There's no reason to yell. There's no reason to scream. There's no reason to threaten them. Just very calmly but firmly explain to them they don't belong there. They need to leave. It might take a few times to do that. I also recommend burning frankincense and myrrh incense in the rooms with the most activity. A lot of times I will tell them to smudge. I'll tell them how to smudge to get rid of it. I'm amazed by the number of people who have paranormal activity, and they tell me, well, I put a line of salt around my house. Well, that's special, but you just trapped it. If it's a negative entity, you just trapped it. It has no way to get out now. So salt doesn't go around a house till after the spirit's gone. Generally, depending on what kind of haunting it is, I think that a homeowner could do it as long as they start with the most passive ways first, because you don't want it to escalate. And they have to believe that it is a spirit and not a demon.
How important or what part in the paranormal does your own belief in a religious philosophy play?
For how I do my investigations?
Well, let's take you first and then the homeowners.
Okay, me personally, I believe in balance in the universe. Okay, I believe there is a divine male energy. You can call him God.
Right.
If you want, whatever your religion is. But I also believe there's a divine feminine energy because the universe needs balance between everything has to be in balance.
Sure.
You know, you can't have light without dark.
That's
you can't
right.
have good without evil. It has to be balanced, and everything's out of balance right now.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have balance. So personally, I have a very strong belief in a god and goddess. If people ask me point blank, what are you? I say, okay, I'm kind of a Christian pagan. You know, I draw from both sides. You know, I use a lot of religions in my own personal beliefs. When I'm in a client's house or business, or I've even done a couple churches.
Right.
I find out what their beliefs are, and we do that through our pre-investigation questionnaire, which is quite extensive. I think it's like 5 or 6 pages. And I operate on what I do and my team does. We operate within their religious beliefs, because if the homeowner or the client does not believe 100% in what we're doing, no matter what we do, it won't work.
Does holy water really work?
I think it does, but you have to believe it will.
The power of belief.
The power of belief. I don't use holy water that much. I believe it works. I just don't use it that much. I prefer incense. That's just me. I use smudge sticks. I always do have holy water with me on an investigation, though, because a lot of times the client, when we're all finished, wants me to bless their home. So I will do that for them with holy water, if that's within their religious beliefs. And that's how we operate. I operate.
How long does it take you before you enter a home to decide whether or not... Well, the home is haunted, all right? We'll just put that out there. How long does it take you, with your experience and all the investigations that you've done, to determine whether or not it is a... How can I say this? A regular haunting or a demonic haunting?
Just by the activity itself. When they tell me what's going on in their home, and to the extent that it's happening and the degree it's happening, like, you know, a normal haunting, yeah, things might move, lights might come on and off, you know, water on and off, that kind of thing. The normal run-of-the-mill, quote-unquote, stereotypical haunting. Sure. But in a demonic haunting, it's like a regular haunting on steroids.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's readily apparent to someone who knows about these things that it's either going to be a regular haunting, it's going to be a residual haunting, or it's a negative, some type of negative entity.
I don't think there's anyone listening to us tonight who has not seen or heard of the Exorcist movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and based on your experience, how true to life was that movie? We know it wasn't a little girl in the real case; it was a little boy. And just putting aside the identifiable chapters or the identifiable,
and the fact that the human head spun around 360 degrees, which you can't do.
Yeah. You know, like, is that strictly Hollywood? You know, just going out on the limb.
I have no doubt that the real victim of that horrible possession, I have no doubt that happened.
The head spun around?
No, I have no doubt that he was
possessed.
Yeah,
I agree. But to the extent...
And I have no doubt of what happened to the priests and things like that before, during, and after The Exorcist. I have no doubt that happened. A lot of it was special effects. in the movie. I remember going to see that when I was in high school. And, everyone in the theater is freaking out. My friends are freaking out. And I was just kind of laughing. And they're, why are you laughing? And I said, this doesn't happen. This is like the best comedy I've seen all year.
Wow.
It just, some of the special effects that doesn't happen. But I have no doubt that that little boy was possessed. And I have no doubt how hard those priests worked to free him.
Deb, what is the best way for someone who doesn't live near you, who doesn't have the ability to contact you and get you and your team to come and help them out? They go onto the internet. How can they best find the paranormal team or those who can actually help them?
I would suggest that you interview more than one team.
Mm-hmm.
We have teams around here that charge a lot of money for their investigations. Find one that doesn't charge you, because if you're really a researcher, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the research.
How much
you're in it to help people.
How much are some teams charging?
I know around here they're charging anywhere between $250 to $500.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It is.
I don't think that, personally, my personal belief is that you should not charge someone who is already being terrorized and vulnerable.
I agree.
I think that you need to help them if you are able to. So interview some teams. You want to talk to the owner of the team.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what their protocol is. We have very strict protocols for our team members.
Debbie, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on the show tonight. Our time is up, but please let our listeners know how they can contact you, please.
You can get a hold of me at debichestnut@yahoo.com or through the Paranormal Realm on Facebook.
Deb, can't wait till you're with us again. Always a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me, friend.
All right.
I will talk to you soon.
All right. Give my very best to the rest of your team as well.
Thank you.
Good night, Debbie. Exonation, our guest this hour has been Debi Chestnut, and if you'd like to contact Debbie, visit her on Facebook at facebook.com/The Paranormal Realm. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.